My older brother Nathan Hale got everything first. First bike. First car. First college acceptance letter framed proudly on the living room wall. First real job with a salary mom could brag about at church. First everything. I was born 3 years later. Second place from day one. My childhood was spent listening to Nathan's achievements while mine were treated like footnotes. Nathan made honor roll again, Mom would announce at dinner. I made honor roll too, but nobody framed my report cards. Nathan played varsity football. Captain senior year. The local paper even ran a feature on him. Dad kept copies of that article in his office for years. I played tennis. Made it to state finals junior year. Dad missed the match because he was helping Nathan move into his dorm at UNC. That pattern defined our family. Nathan was the success story. I was the background character. After high school, Nathan went to UNC on a partial academic scholarship. Business major. Top fraternity. Graduated with honors and 3 job offers. He chose a consulting firm in Charlotte and started at $78,000. I went to a small liberal arts college 2 hours away. Studied economics and environmental science. Dad asked, "What kind of job does that even get you?" "Sustainable development and coastal economics," I said. He frowned. "So, nothing practical." I worked through college, waiting tables, tutoring, landscaping during summers. I graduated with $31,000 in student loans that I was determined to pay off fast. Nathan graduated debt-free. Mom and Dad covered everything his scholarship didn't. My first job paid $34,000 at a marine conservation nonprofit in Miami. I lived in a tiny studio in a rough neighborhood. Ate ramen most nights. Worked on coastal development policy during the day. Nathan's career exploded. By 25, he was making 6 figures, bought a condo in Charlotte's South End, and posted non-stop photos, rooftop pool, skyline views, granite counters. At 25, I still drove a 15-year-old Corolla. Mom called it finding yourself. Dad called it not applying yourself. Nathan called it the struggle years. Except Nathan never struggled. What none of them knew was this: I wasn't struggling. I was planning. Working at the nonprofit quietly changed everything for me. While my family saw low pay and long hours, I saw access. My role put me in constant contact with coastal developers, environmental attorneys, zoning officials, and property owners who were struggling to navigate regulations. I listened more than I talked. I asked questions. I learned how coastal real estate really worked. I learned how development rights could multiply land value overnight. How environmental restrictions scared away average buyers, but created massive opportunities for people who understood the system. How wetlands designations, setback rules, and conservation easements could either kill a deal or make it incredibly profitable if handled correctly. I started saving aggressively. Every dollar beyond rent, utilities, and food went into savings or investment accounts. I didn't go out much. I didn't upgrade my car. I didn't post vacation photos. At night, I studied real estate markets, zoning law, and coastal property case studies like my life depended on it, because in a way, it did. By 27, I was ready. My first purchase was a small beachfront lot in Wilmington, North Carolina. It was tangled in environmental permitting issues, which scared off traditional buyers. I bought it for $140,000 using every dollar I had saved plus a small loan. For 8 exhausting months, I navigated the permitting process, environmental impact assessments, compliance plans, endless meetings. When approval finally came through, the property's value skyrocketed. I sold it 18 months later for $380,000. I told no one. My family still thought I was barely surviving in Miami, working non-profit jobs for nothing. I let them think that. The profit from that first deal became the foundation for everything that followed. I reinvested carefully. Beach cottages that needed renovation. Undervalued coastal lots with regulatory complications I knew how to solve. Properties other investors avoided because they didn't want the hassle. I welcomed the hassle, it was my advantage. By 30, my portfolio was worth $1.8 million. By 32, $4.2 million. Meanwhile, my life still looked modest from the outside. I moved from a studio to a small one-bedroom apartment above a surf shop. Drove a 5-year-old Honda. Wore shorts and t-shirts most days. I worked remotely now, consulting on coastal development projects while quietly managing my growing investments. My family never asked questions. They were too busy admiring Nathan's success. That was fine with me. Because I wasn't building a lifestyle to impress anyone. I was building leverage. And I was waiting for the right opportunity. That opportunity appeared when I was 34. The Pelican Cove Resort in Topsail Beach, North Carolina, was quietly falling apart. 32 beachfront units, a restaurant, a pool, direct beach access. On paper, it was a gold mine. In reality, it was a disaster. Years of mismanagement, ignored environmental regulations, outdated infrastructure, and mounting debt had pushed it toward foreclosure. Most investors saw a nightmare. I saw potential. For 3 months, I conducted deep due diligence. Environmental impact studies. Structural surveys. Financial audits. Development potential analysis. The resort needed approximately $2.4 million in upgrades and environmental remediation. But it sat on 7 acres of prime beachfront land that, once compliant and modernized, could be worth anywhere between $18 and $22 million. I structured the acquisition carefully. I invested $3.1 million from my existing portfolio, brought in 2 silent investor partners, and secured financing for the remainder. Total acquisition and renovation budget, $11.7 million. At 35 years old, I became the majority owner of the Pelican Cove Resort. I didn't celebrate. I went to work. Over the next 18 months, I oversaw a complete transformation. Environmental remediation came first, fixing years of neglect. Then infrastructure upgrades, followed by a full renovation of all 32 units. The restaurant was rebuilt from the ground up. The pool redesigned. Landscaping replaced with native coastal plants. But everything was done sustainably. Solar panels. Water reclamation systems. Turtle-friendly lighting. Energy-efficient construction. The resort became a model for sustainable coastal development and started appearing in environmental tourism publications. Occupancy climbed to 87%. Revenue tripled. The latest valuation came in at $23.5 million. My personal net worth, including the resort and other properties, hit $31.2 million. My family still thought I worked at a non-profit making maybe $45,000 a year. I bought one of the resort units for myself. A 3-bedroom beachfront condo on the top floor. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the ocean. Wraparound balcony. Direct beach access. It wasn't extravagant by resort standards, but it was perfect. I never mentioned it to my family. I never invited them to visit. They never asked. The resort operated under Coastal Meridian Holdings LLC. My name was buried deep in corporate filings. On-site staff knew me only as Mr. Hale. I managed remotely and kept a low profile during visits. Only the resort manager, Karen, and a few trusted staff knew who I really was. That anonymity worked perfectly. Until the phone rang. It was Nathan. And with that single call, everything I'd built quietly was suddenly at risk. Nathan's call came on a quiet Tuesday afternoon. I was sitting on my balcony, overlooking the ocean, reviewing quarterly financial reports when my phone buzzed. "Hey," Nathan said, cheerful as always. "How's it going, little brother?" "Good," I replied. "What's up?" His tone shifted. "I'm calling about something important. Olivia and I were talking, and we're worried about you." "Worried?" That word again. "You know how you've been struggling financially," he continued. "Working at that nonprofit, living in that tiny apartment. We want to help." I wasn't struggling. But I let him talk. "That's thoughtful," I said carefully. "Listen," Nathan said, lowering his voice like he was doing me a favor. "Remember that beach condo you mentioned years ago? The one in Topsail Beach?" My stomach tightened. "What about it?" "I looked into it," he said proudly. "Property records, comps, everything. That little condo you bought as an investment. It's worth something now. Maybe $180,000. He said investment like it was a cute delusion. "Nathan, let me finish," he cut in. "I know you probably can't afford the taxes and maintenance. Small condos like that are money pits." So I took the initiative. My heart started pounding. I found a buyer through a real estate agent friend. Cash offer. Quick close, $185,000. Silence. "That'll clear your debts," he continued, pleased with himself. "Give you a fresh start." "You did what?" I asked. "I helped you," he said, annoyed. "The buyer's ready to close next week. I already started the paperwork since I still have that power of attorney from when you were in Costa Rica." That stopped me cold. 5 years ago, during a short conservation project overseas, I'd given Nathan limited power of attorney for one specific transaction. It was supposed to expire immediately after. Apparently, it hadn't. "Nathan," I said slowly, "you cannot sell my property." "Bro, I'm helping you," he snapped. "You should be thanking me." "I am not selling," I said firmly. "That power of attorney expired years ago. You have no authority. If you attempt this, you're committing fraud." There was a long pause. "Fraud," he repeated. "Jesus. I'm just trying to help you." "Then stop," I said. "Don't sign anything. Don't talk to buyers. Leave my property alone." "Well," he said coldly, "Mom and Dad agree with me. We all think this is the best thing for you." That's when I hung up. And immediately called Karen, my resort manager. "Karen," I said, keeping my voice steady, "someone may attempt to fraudulently sell my personal condo. Increase security. Post proof of ownership. Alert legal." "Yes, sir," she said without hesitation. "Should I notify our attorneys?" "Yes," I replied. "And Karen, if my brother shows up, I want to know immediately." I stared out at the waves. Nathan thought he was saving me. What he didn't realize was that he had just crossed a line that couldn't be uncrossed. Did you know? Many high-net-worth individuals keep assets under LLCs and low public profiles precisely to avoid family, legal, and security complications. Privacy is often a strategic asset, not secrecy. My phone started buzzing within minutes of hanging up on Nathan. The family group chat lit up. Nathan, I tried to help him sell that little condo. He got defensive. Mom, he's probably embarrassed about his finances. Dad, selling sounds reasonable. The taxes alone must be crushing him. Nathan, I already found a buyer, $185,000 cash. Closing next week. I stared at the screen, disbelief turning into something colder. They weren't asking me. They were planning to push the sale through. They were trying to sell my home. A home worth over $1.2 million. I didn't respond. Instead, I opened my laptop and pulled up the latest appraisal, premium unit, top floor, oceanfront, fully renovated luxury resort. The number sat there calmly, mocking the chaos, $1,210,000. They were about to give it away for 15 cents on the dollar. I called my attorney. Richard, I need help. This is about to turn into a legal situation with my family. After I explained everything, he went quiet for a moment. To be clear, he said carefully, your brother is attempting to sell your personal residence using expired authority, for a fraction of its value. Yes. That's attempted real estate fraud, he said. We need to shut this down immediately. Within hours, Richard sent cease and desist letters, contacted the buyer's agent, who was stunned to learn the truth, filed protective notices with the county recorder, and prepared documentation for potential criminal charges. Then Karen called. Mr. Hale, she said calmly, your brother just arrived at the front desk with a real estate agent and a couple who appear to be buyers. He's demanding access to your condo. I'm already on my way, I said. I was already on the property. I'd stayed in my unit since Nathan's call, anticipating exactly this scenario. I took the elevator down to the lobby wearing my usual uniform, shorts, t-shirt, flip-flops. I looked like any other beach resident. Nathan was arguing loudly at the front desk. I have power of attorney, he snapped. I'm authorized. Karen didn't budge. That document is expired and invalid. We cannot grant access. Nathan, I said, stepping forward. He turned, irritated. Finally. Tell her to let us in. These are the buyers, Mark and Elaine. The condo isn't for sale, I said evenly. He grabbed my arm. Stop being stubborn. You need this money. Karen cleared her throat. Mr. Nathan Hale, she said, Resort Security has been notified. Our legal team has also prepared documentation regarding your attempted fraudulent sale. Nathan laughed nervously. Resort property. It's my brother's condo. Yes, Karen replied calmly. Your brother's private residence, inside the resort he owns. The lobby went silent. What? Nathan whispered. I own the Pelican Cove Resort, I said quietly. Have for 3 years. The buyers stepped back. The agent's face drained of color. Nathan stared at me like he'd never seen me before. And in that moment, everything he thought he knew about me collapsed. Nathan's face cycled through disbelief, confusion, and panic. You own this place, he said hoarsely. All of it. All 32 units, I replied. The restaurant. The beachfront land. Current valuation, $23.5 million. The real estate agent swallowed hard. Mark and Elaine were already backing away toward the exit. This has to be a misunderstanding, Nathan said. You work at a non-profit. You live cheap. You drive a beat-up car. I live simply, I corrected. That's not the same thing. Karen stepped forward, tablet in hand. Mr. Nathan Hale, you attempted to sell property you do not own using expired legal authorization. This constitutes attempted fraud. Nathan's knees buckled, and he sank into a chair that probably cost more than his first car. Police are here, Karen added calmly. 2 officers entered the lobby minutes later. I spent the next hour giving statements, providing documentation, and explaining the expired power of attorney. Nathan sat silently, staring at the floor as the reality of what he'd done sank in. After the officers left, he finally looked up at me. Am I going to jail? That depends, I said. On whether I press charges, and whether you understand what you actually did wrong. I was trying to help, he whispered. You were trying to control, I replied. You assumed you knew better than me about my own life. Mom and Dad rushed in just then, breathless and confused. What is going on? Mom asked. Why are police here? There's no confusion, I said evenly. Nathan tried to sell my property without permission. Your property? Dad echoed. Karen addressed them gently. Mr. and Mrs. Hale, your son owns the Pelican Cove Resort. He acquired it 3 years ago and rebuilt it from foreclosure. Mom sat down hard. Dad stared out at the ocean through the lobby windows. You own all of this? He asked quietly. Yes. No one spoke for a long moment. Richard called me privately to discuss options. Full prosecution was possible. So was a settlement, restitution, formal admission of wrongdoing, and legal boundaries. I thought about it carefully. Then I walked back to Nathan. We'll handle this privately, I said. But there will be conditions. He nodded rapidly. Anything? Restitution for legal fees. Counseling. And you stay out of my business unless invited. Any violation, and I prosecute fully. I understand, he said, voice breaking. We stepped outside onto the beach as the sun dipped low, painting the water gold. I'm sorry, Nathan said. I measured success by appearances. And I was wrong. I looked out at the ocean, at everything I'd built quietly, patiently. This, I said, is what assumptions cost. And for the first time, he truly understood. The weeks after that day were quiet, but heavy. Nathan paid the restitution without argument. He started therapy. He stopped calling to fix my life and started calling to ask actual questions. Real ones. Not about money, about me. Mom and Dad struggled the most. For years, they had fit me into a role that made sense to them, the struggling younger son, still figuring things out. Seeing the truth forced them to confront how little they'd really known me. They tried to apologize. I told them words weren't enough. What I needed was change. Slowly, it came. They visited the resort, not as mediators or critics, but as guests. They toured the property properly. Met the staff. Listened as I explained the environmental work, the development challenges, the systems I'd designed. For the first time, they asked questions without judgment. The district attorney reviewed the case and decided not to prosecute, given the restitution and family resolution. The buyer and agent disappeared completely, shaken enough to never skip due diligence again. 6 months later, Nathan called me from his therapist's office. Can I ask you something? He said. Sure. Do you forgive me? I paused. I'm working toward it. Forgiveness is a process. I get that, he said quietly. I'll keep doing the work. A year after the attempted sale, I invited my family to the resort for Thanksgiving. Real rooms. Proper hospitality. Not my private residence, but close enough for them to see what I'd built. At dinner, Dad stood and raised his glass. To my son, he said, voice thick. Who built something extraordinary while we were too blind to notice. We are sorry for the years we missed, and grateful for the chance to do better. Nathan added, and I'm sorry for almost destroying it through my own entitlement. You didn't destroy it, I said calmly. You revealed it. After that, our relationship changed. Not overnight. Not perfectly. But honestly. Nathan became one of my most useful advisors, his business skills paired with new self-awareness. My parents stopped comparing. Stopped assuming. Started listening. And me? I stayed exactly the same. Same condo. Same simple clothes. Same ocean view at sunset. Standing on my balcony now, watching the waves roll in, I understand something I didn't back then. Success doesn't need an audience. Wealth doesn't need to be loud. And the strongest things you build are often the ones no one sees, until someone tries to take them. I almost lost everything to assumptions. But I didn't. Because I'd built something strong enough to withstand even family. And that was worth more than any number on a balance sheet.